Alright, testing. Alright, we got part 192, Subpart D, design pipeline component scope. Subpart prescribes the minimum requirements of the design installation of the pipeline component facility. In addition, with prescribed requirements relating to the protection against the accidental overpressure. 192, 143, the general requirements each component pipeline must be able to withstand operating pressure and anticipated load with the impairment of the serviceability with a unit stress of the equivalent that is allowed with the comparable material of the pipe at the same location, kind of surface. However, even design based for the unit stress of the impact of the particular component. The design may be used as pressure rating that is established by the manufacturer. Pressure for the testing component of the prototype of the component design installation of the pipeline component of the facility must meet the applicable requirements of corrosion control found in subpart 1 of the part 192, 144, qualifying metallic component, notwithstanding any of the requirements so far with the incorporated the reference in addition with the documents are listed in 192, 7 with the appendix B with the part with the metallic component of the manufacturer incorporated with any of the other addition of the document is qualified. Under this part, it can be shown with the visual inspection clean component of the general defect exists may appear with the strength of the tightness component of the addition of the document under the component of the manufacturer. It has equal the more stringent requirements for the following as the addition of the document is currently and previously listed in 192.7 of the appendix B of the pressure testing material pressure temperature ratings. 192, 144, 5. Valves. Except for the cast iron plastic valve, each of the valves must meet the minimum requirements of the ASI API specification 60 or to a national international standard that provide the equivalent performance level of the valve. The must may not be the operating condition that exceed the applicable pressure, temperature of the rating, including contained in the requirements. Each of the cast iron plastic valve must comply with the following. The valve must have the maximum service pressure rating. The temperature that is equal to exceed the maximum service temperature of the valve must be tested as of the manufacturer's valves. With the valve that is fully open, the position shell must be tested. No leakage of the pressure of the 1.5 times the maximum service rating. After the shell test and seat must be tested. The pressure not less than 1.5 times the maximum pressure, except for the swing check valve. The test pressure during the seat test must be applied successfully on each side of the closed valve of the opposite side of the open with a no visible leak in the perimeter of the afterlast pressure. The test to believe the valve must be operated through the full travel value. Demonstrate the freedom of the interference. Each valve must be able to meet the anticipated operation condition. No valve have the shell body, bonnet, cover, or any other end of flange component with the made of the ductile iron may be used with the pressure exceeding 90-80% of the pressure rating of the variable seal of the valve. Values listed in temperature. However, the value having a shell component with the made of the ductile iron may be used with the pressure up to 80% of the pressure rating of the variable seal valves. Listed in temperature. The temperature adjusting surface pressure does not exceed 100 psi gauge, and while does not use the native ductile iron component of the fabrication of valve shells on their assembly. No valves having shell of the body of the bonnet cover and indoor flange or the components may be used as cast iron, malleable iron, ductile iron may be used as a gas pipe component of the pressure stations. 190 for 147 flanges and flange accessories. Each flange with a flange accessory other than the cast iron must meet the minimum requirements ASME B165 of the MSS SP44 or equivalent. Each of the flange assembly must be able to withstand the maximum pressure of the which of the pipeline with operated with the maintain the physical chemical property and temperature of the which anticipated that might be subject to the surface. Each of the flanges joined with the cast iron must be conformed with the dimension of the drilling face of the gas design ASME ASI B61 and be cast integrally with the pipe of the pipe valve. The fitting 194, 192, 149 standard fitting. Minimum metal thickness of threaded fittings may not be less than specified with the pressure of the temperature applicable to standard of the reference for the support equivalent. Each seal of the budding welded fitting must be pressed with the temperature of the rating based on the stress of the pipe the same with the equivalent material of the actual bursting strength of the fitting that must be equal to be computed the bursting strength of the pipe of the design material of the wall thickness is determined the prototype that was tested at least the pressure required for the pipeline in which is being added. 192, 150 patch for the internal devices. Each except the provided paragraph B and C for the section each for the new transmission line of the replacement of the line piping, valve fitting, other line component of the transmission line that must be designed and constructed and accommodated with the passage for the instrument of the internal inspection device. The section does not apply for the manifolds to the station pipe that which for the compressor stations and meter station regulators, station piping associated with the storage facility other than the continuous run of the transmission line between the compressor station and the storage facility. 4 crossover. 5 steel with the pipe with which for the instrument internal inspection device that is not commercially available. 6 the transmission line operated with the conjunction distribution system and installed with class 4 locations. 7 offshore transmission lines except for the transmission lines 10 3/4 inch or more outside diameter on which the construction begins after December 28, 2005 that run platform of the platform to platform shore of the platform space configuration compatible with the launching and retrieving instrument and inspection device for the design include the have the lateral connection operated with the demonstrated if an investigation experiment there is no reasonable practical alternative under the design circumstance, but the use of the tap will obstruct the passage of the instrument internal inspection device, and 8 other piping under the 109, 199 of the tap to administer the finding of the particularly okay for the impractical design, construction, accommodative with the passage of the instrument with the internal inspection device, and operative with the encountering with the emergency with the construction time constraint with the other than unforeseen problems. Need after control for the new replacement segment of the transmission line to meet paragraph A of the section if the operator determines the document while the impractical prohibits compliance with the paragraph A of the section within 30 days of the discovery of the emergency with the construction problem with the operator may petition with under 190.19 with the chapter with the approval of the design with construction accompanied with the passage of the instrumented internal inspection device with impractical the petition designed within 1 year after the date of the notice of the denial of the operator must be modify the segment to allow the passage for the instrumental integral inspection device. 192, 151 tapping. Each mechanical fitting unit to make of the hot tap must be designed for at least one operating pressure of the pipeline where the ductile iron pipe with the tap of the extent of the full threaded engagement and the need for the outside sealing with the surface connections, tapping, saddles, and other fixtures must be determined in surface condition. Where the threaded tap may be the cast iron ductile iron pipe with the diameter of the tap hole may not be more than 25% of the nominal diameter of the pipe unless the pipe is reinforced, except for the existing tabs may be used with the replacement surface if they are free with cracks and have good threads. 1 1/4 inch for the tap may be used in a 4-inch cast iron or ductile iron pipe without reinforcement. However, the surface of the climate and soil with the conservative conditions may create the unusual external stress on the cast iron pipe. The unreinforced taps may be used only with a 6-inch or larger pipe. 192, 153 components fabricated with welding. If some of the branch pipe branch connected to the assembly of the standard pipe with the fitting joined with the circumferential with the weld the design thresher with each of the component fabricated with weld whose strength cannot be determined by the established with the paragraph UG 101 ASME boiler pressure vessel codes. Each prefabricated unit and plate with a longitudinal seam that must be designed constructed for the test and in accordance with Section 1 ASME boiler vessel pressure go except for the following regular manufactured budding weld fittings pipe that has been proved to do test on with the specification lifted the pair speed with the part the partial assembly of the split ring collars prefabricated units manufactured certified that have been tested the least width the maximum pressure in which they will be subjected on the anticipated operating condition. Orange peel with the bowl plugs and or orange peel swages may not be used on the pipeline to operate with the hoop. Stdrds with 20% of the more than the system measuring yielded strength of the pipe except for the flat structure of the design and core for the ASME while the pressure vessel code section 8 division 1 and 2 with the flat closure of the fishtail that may not be used on the pipe that either that operates on 100 psi gauge or more is more than 3 inches in nominal diameter. The component have the design and pressure established in accordance with paragraph A and B with the section subject for the strength of the tensile strength testing requirements of 192.505B must be tested at 1.5 times the maximal allowable operating pressure. 192, 155 weld branch connects to each welded branch connection made with the pipe with the form of the single connection in head of the manifold series of the connection must be designed to ensure the strength of the pipe line system is not reduced taking the account of the strength in the remaining of the pipe wall due to the operating opening of the pipe with the head of the shear strength reduce the pressure acting with the area of the branch opening any external loading due to the thermal movement of the weight of the vibration. 192, 157 extended outlets extruded outlets. Each of the extruded outlet must be suitable for the anticipated surface condition must be at least equal to the desired strength of the pipe and other fittings within the pipeline which is attached. 192, 159 flexibility. Each pipeline must be designed with enough flexibility to prevent thermal expansion contraction with the stress of the pipe of the component with excessive bending of the unusual loading of the joints undesirable movements of the point of the connection to the equipment of the anchor and guide points. 192, 161 support and anchors. Each pipeline is associated with equipment that must have an anchor that support to prevent and undo the strain on the connected equipment that resist the longitudinal force of the by bend but offset with the pipe to prevent the damp and excessive vibration. Each of the exposed pipeline must have enough of support the anchor to protect the exposed pipe joints from the maximum force of the caused by the internal pressure. The additional forces caused by temperature, expansion, contraction, or weight by the pipe and its contents. Each support and anchor of the exposed pipeline must be with a durable, non-combustible material must be designed and installed as valve 3 expansion contraction with the pipeline. When supported anchors may not be restricted, the provision must be made with the surface condition involved the movement of the pipeline may not cover the disengagement of the support equipment. Each support may expose the pipe of the line with operated with stress level of 50% of the more system measured yielded strength must comply with the following. A structural support may not be welded directly to the pipe. The support must be provided with the member of the complete encircle of the pipe if the encircling member of the welded to the pipe must be continuous to cover the entire circumference of each underground pipe that is connected with a relatively unyielding line. Other fixed object must be enough flexibility to provide the possible movement of the must have the anchor with the will limit the movement of the pipeline except for the other offshore of the pipeline to each of the underground pipeline is being connected with the new branches must have the firm foundation for both header and branches to prevent detrimental lateral vertical movement. 19263 compressor station design construction location for the compressor building except for the compressor building platform located in the offshore of the inland navigable waters. Each main compressor for the building of the compressor station must be located with the property owner. The control of the operator must be far enough away from the adjacent property with the under control of the operator minimize the possibility of fire communicated with the compressor building from the structure of the adjacent property. There must be enough open space around the main compressor building to allow the free movement of the firefighting equipment. Building construction each building with the compressor station site must be made with a non-combustible interior if containing more than 2 inches in diameter that is carrying gas under the pressure gas handling equipment with the gas utilizing equipment utilized for the domestic purposes. Exits each operating floor of the compressor of the building may have at least 2 separate uninstructed exits located with the provide with the conventional possibility of escape with uninstructed hazards of the place. So for the safety, each glass door on the exit must be the type of the which can readily open with the inside without a key. Each of the swinging door located with the exterior wall must be mounted in the swing outwardly. Alright, fence areas. Each fence area of the compressor station must have at least 2 gates located with so that they provide with the conventional opportunity to escape the place of safety. You have the facility according with similar convention between exit for the area that each gate located with the 200 feet end of the compressor plant building that must be open outside outward when occupied must be open with it from the inside without a key. Extra electrical facilities, electrical equipment wiring installed with the compressor station must conform to the National Fire Protection Agency Association 74 of the code is applicable. 192-165 compressor station liquid removal when air and train the vapor and gas liquefy under the anticipated pressure. The temperature condition of the compressor must be protected against the introduction of the liquids. Quantity of those caused by the damage. Each liquid separated to move the in-train liquids of the compressor station have the manually operable means to remove the liquids. Where the slug of the liquids can be carried with the compressor for the have the either automatic liquid removal facility, the automatic compressor shut down with the device that have a high liquid level alarm. Manufacturing according to Section 8 of the ASME boiler vessel pressure codes and the additional requirements of 192-153E, except for the liquid separated with the construction pipeline fittings without the internal welding must be fabricated with a design factor 0.4 or less. 192-167 compressor station of the emergency shutdown. Except for the unattended field of the compressor of the station 1,000 horsepower lift. Each compressor station must have the emergency shutdown that means the following: must be able to block a gas out of the station, block down the station and the pipe. It must be dished over the gas of the low-down pipe to the location where the gas will not create a hazard. It must provide the means of the shutdown of the gas compression and the gas pipe with the electrical facility visiting the gas heads in compressing building, except the electrical circuit that supply with the emergency lighting when required for the station. The person will be investigating with the compressor building area of the vicinity of the gas heads must remain energized with the electrical circuit. Need to protect the equipment with the damage of the remaining air energized. It must be operable at least 2 locations, each of which outside of the area of the station and near the gates of the station fence near the emergency exit fence not more than 500 feet from the limits of the station. If the compressor station supply the directly distribution system, no other adequate source of the gas available, the emergency shutdown system must be designed so that it will not function at the wrong time that cause the unintended outage of the distribution system on a platform located offshore with the inland valve. Navigable waters emergency shutdown must be designed and installed the actuate automatically by each of the following. In the case of the unintended compressor station, the gas pressure equal to the maximum level of operating pressure of plus 15% when uncontrolled fire occurred on the platform. In the case of the compressor station is in a building when the uncontrolled fire occurred in the building when the concentration of the gas ever reached 50% more of the lower explosive limit in the building in which had sort of the ignition the for the purpose of the C22 of the section electrical facility with the conform to Class 1 Group D with the National Electrical Code is not a source of ignition. 192-169 compressor station and the pressure limiting device. Each compressor station must have the pressure relief that is suitable with the protective device sufficient capacity for the sensitivity to ensure the maximal level of operating pressure of the station piping with equipment that does not exceed more than 10% of each of the vent line exhaust gaps of the pressure relief valve of the compressor station must extend. The location where the gas must be discharged without a compressor. 192-171 compressor station with the additional safety equipment. Each compressor station must have adequate fire protection facility. The fire pumps are part of the facility. Their operation may be affected the emergency shutdown items system. Each compressor station is primarily with the move of their electrical induction synchronized motor must have the automatic device to shut down a unit with a speed either with the primary movement of the driver driven units over the maximum safe speed. Each of the compressor unit with the compressor station must have the shutdown alarm device to operate with evident with inadequate cooling or lubricating of the unit. Each compressor station engaged they operate with a pressure gauge gas injection when it must be equipped with the stop to gauge of the engine automatically stops the fuel with the vents for the engine distribution manifold. Each muffler of the gas engine with the compressor station must have the vent slot and hold of the baffles in compartment with the prevent the gas from being trapped in the muffler. 192-173 compressor station ventilation. Each compressor station building must be ventilated to ensure the emergency of the employees are not endangered with the accumulation of the gas in rooms and sumps and attics and pumps, pits, and other enclosed places. 195. Pipe type and bottle type holders. Pipe and the bottle type holders are designed to prevent accumulation of liquid that hold within connection pipe with auxiliary equipment that might cover the corrosion and interfere with the safety operation of the holder. Each pipe type of the bottle type holder might have the minimum accurate clearance that other holders in accordance with the following criteria. C is equal to the minimum clearance between the pipe containing the bottle with the inches and millimeters, 3 times the outside diameter of the pipe containing the bottle with the inch of the pipe maximum allowable. I'm just going to skip that equation. All right, 192.177. Additional provision of the bottle type holders. Each bottle type holder must be located on site entirely surrounded the fencing, prevent the access to unauthorized person with a minimum clearance of the fence fouls less than 1,000 psi, 25 feet. 1,000 psi gauge or more, 100 feet. The design factor for them 192, 111. The barrier with the minimum cover the corners with 192, 327. If the bottle type holder manufacturer of the steel that is not weldable under the field conditions must comply with the following. Bottle type holder made from the alloy steel must be in chemical and tensils requirements of the air for the grades of steel. ASTM A372, 372M. The actual yielding tensile strength ratio of the steel might not exceed 0.85. The welding may not be performed on holder after it has been heat treated with stress relieved, except for the copper wires that may be attached by to a small diameter portion of the bottle with the closure of the cathodic protection. Localized thermite welding process to the holder must be given with the mill hydrostatic test pressure at the produce the hoop shaft at least 85% of the system measured using string. A holder connection pipe. The components must be leaked test after installed required in subpart J. This part 192.179 transmission line valve. The transmission line other than the offshore segments must have centralizing block valve with space falling in length for the particular case of the administrator. Finally, the alternative spacing would provide the equivalent level of safety. Each point of the pipeline class 4 location must be either 2.5 miles. Each point of the pipeline with the class 3 location must have 4 miles or valve. Each point of the pipeline with the class 2 location must have 7.5 miles or of a valve. Each of the point of the pipeline in class 1 location must be within 10 miles of the valve. Each section line is a block valve with the transmission line other than the other segments must comply with the following. The valve and the operating device for the open and the cove of the valve must be readily accessible, protected with the tamper damage. The valve must be supported to prevent sampling, sealing the valve with the movement of the pipe with which for the attached each section of the transmission line other than offshore segment between the main line valve must have the blow down valve with enough capacity to allow the transmission line blow down rapidly as practical. With how long each blow down discharge must be located with so the gas can be blown at the atmosphere without having if the transmission line is adjacent and overhead electrical lines over the glass are directed away from the electrical conductor. Offshore segment of the transmission line must be equipped with the valve of the other components to shut the flow of the gas for the overflow offshore platform and emergency. 191 distribution line valve. Each high pressure distribution system must have the valve space that is reduced the time of the shutdown in a section of the main and emergency. The valve spacing is determined by the operator pressure at the side of the main with the local physical conditions. Each of the regulator station control of the flowing of the pressure distribution system must have a valve installed with the inlet piping the distance from the regulator station sufficient to permit the operation of the valve during the emergency. The pipe might preclude the access to the station. Each valve may install the operating and emergency purpose to comply with the following. The valve must be placed in readily accessible locations for the facility and operating with emergency. The operation stem of the mechanism must be readily accessible. If the valve is installed with the barrier box enclosure, the box enclosure must be installed with the avoid transmitting external loads to the main. 193 valve vaults and structural design requirements. Each underground vault with the pit with the valve, the pressure relieving the pressure, limiting the pressure regulating stations must be able to meet the loads of which input upon into the protected installed equipment. There must be enough working space that allow the equipment required within the vault with the pit that can be properly installed to operate with maintain each proper pipe entering within the regulator valve of the pit may be sealed within the size of 10 inches to the left, except the control and engaged piping. Bring a copper with the pipe extended through the valve pit and the structure of the provision must be made with the prevent the passage of the gas liquid from the opening to divert these streams of the pipe. 192, 185 valves. Accessibility valves must be located in accessible locations so that far practical away from the street intersection point of the where the traffic to have the depth point of the minimum elevation of the catch basin place as of the axis covered with the course of the surface of the water, electrical, steam, and other facilities. 192, 187 belts and ceiling venting with each underground valve with the closed top of the pitting with the either the pressure regulating and the reducing station, the pressure limiting of the relieving station must be sealed, vented, and ventilated as valve. When the internal volume exceeds 200 cubic feet, the valve or the pit with the ventilation of the two ducts, each having at least ventilation effect with the pipe 4 inches of the diameter. The ventilation must be enough for the minimum of the formation of possible atmosphere of all of the pit. The duct must be high enough above the ground to disperse any of the gas air with the mixture must be discharged. When the volume of the 75 cubic feet or less than 200 cubic feet. If the valve of the pit with the seal with the opening must have the tight fitting cover the which open with the hole through and explosive. To make sure the meat might be ignited, there must be means of the testing internal atmosphere before removing the cover. If the valve of the pit is vented, there must be means of preventing external source for the ignition from reaching the valve atmosphere. Or if the valve is, or pit is invented with the paragraph A and C with the section applied with the valve of the pit with the cover of the paragraph B with the section ventilated by opening with the cover of the grating within the ratio of the interval of the cubic feet of the effect of the ventilation after the cover of the grating with the square feet with less than 20 to 1. No additional ventilation is required. All right, 192, 189, vaults and drainage and waterproofing. Each valve must be designed so that the minimum of the entrance of the water valve containing the gas pipe that may not be connected means for the drain connection any of the underground structure. Electrical and the vaults must conform with the appliance app with the requirements of Class 1 Group D of the National Electrical Code and the National Fire Protection Agency, National Fire Protection Association 70. 192, 191, design pressure plastic fitting with the thermosetting of the fitting of the plastic pipe must conform with the ASTM D2517, and the thermoplastic of the plastic pipe must conform with the ASTM 251399 for the plastic materials other than polyethanol, ASTM 251309 for the polyethanol plastics. 192, 193, valve installation of plastic pipe. Each valve installed of the plastic pipe must be designed to protect the plastic material against the excessive torsional and shear loads with the valve that is shut off is operative when the valve is shut or shut off is operative from any of the other secondary stress might be exerted with the valve closure. 192, 195, protection against accidental overpressuring. General requirements provided in 192, 197, the pipe to jam with the gas over with the maximum allowable operating pressure could not exceed the result of the pressure control failure or some of the other type of failure, maybe the pressure relief of the pressure limiting device. The major requirements of 192, 199, 192, 201, additional requirements of distribution. Each distribution system supplied with the source of the gas, the high pressure of the maximum allowable operating pressure system must have a pressure regulating device at the meeting of the pressure load. The other service device if the MOB experiment with the normal operation of the system that could be activated with the event of the failure of some portion of the system designed so that the prevent accidents overpressuring. 192, 197, control of the high pressure of the control of the pressure over the delivery of the high pressure distribution system. The maximum actual operating pressure for the distribution system 60 psi gauge lesser for the service regulator having the following characteristics. Even no other pressure limiting devices require regulator capable of the distributing of the applying pressure. The pressure recommended for the household. Applying single pore valve of the pore proper orifice from the maximum gas pressure regulator inlet. The valve seat made with the resilient material designed with the same abrasive of the gas impurity with the gas cutting of the valve with the resistant permanent with the deformation when the press and the valve port with the piping length for the regulator 19 inch for the diameter regulator that under normal operating conditions is able to regulate with the downstream pressure for the necessary limit of the accuracy with the line build up of the pressure under the nominal no flow conditions to prevent the pressure that would cause the unsafe operation. Any connection properly adjusted for the gas utilization equipment self-connected contains surface regulator, no external static control lines. The maximum actual operating pressure of the distribution system is 60 psi gauge for left. The surface regulator does not have all of the characteristics listed in paragraph A of this section. Is used if the gas contains material that seriously interferes with the operation of the surface regulator that must be suitable protective device to prevent unsafe overpressuring of the customer applying if the surface regulator fails. If the maximum actual operating pressure of the distribution system exceeds 60 psi gauge, one of the following methods must be able to regulate with the limit of the maximum safe of the valve value of the pressure for the gas delivered to the customer. Surface regulator have the characteristics listed in paragraph A of the section of the regulator located upstream of the surface regulator. Upstream regulator may not be set with the main pressure higher than 60 psi. The device must be installed between the upstream regulator and surface regulator. Limit the pressure of the inlet of the surface regulator to 60 psi gauge less of the in case of the upstream regulator fail the functional property of the device may be either relief valve of the automatic shut valve of the F shuts. The pressure of the inlet and that of the surface regulator exceed the set pressure of the 60 psi or and left and remain closed until the manual reset. Surface regulator and monitor regulator set to the limit of the maximum safe valve of the pressure for the gas delivered to the customer. Surface regulator with the relief valve aiming for the outside atmosphere. The relief valve the open so that the pressure going over the customer that does next to the maximum safe valve of the relief valve may either be built with a surface regulator or it may be separate with the unit installed down with the stream with the surface regulator. This combination may not be alone with only with the case where the inlet pressure of the surface regulator does not exceed. Manufacturer safe working safe pressure rating for the surface regulator may not exceed the inlet pressure for the surface regulator exceeds 125 psi gauge. The higher inlet pressure of the method for the paragraph C1 and C2 of the section must be used. A surface regulator with the atmosphere automatic shutdown of the device over the palm of the rise of the pressure downstream of the regulator remains closed until the manual reset. 192, 199 requirement to design pressure relief of the limiting device except for the rupture of the disc of the pressure relief the pressure limiting device may construct the for the operation of the device that might not be impaired by the corrosion. Have valves or valve see if the design does not stick within the position that will make the device inoperative. The design itself so that it be readily operated to determine the valve frequency can be tested to determine the pressure at which the operator can be tested the leakage with a closed portion. How support for the non-combustible materials have the discharge of stack and vent outlet ports of the design to prevent accumulation of water inlet snow located where the gas can be discharged into the atmosphere without undue hazard. The design itself over the side of the openings and with the pipe of the fittings located between the system of protect the pressure relieving the device and the side of the venting line, adequate preventing hammer of the valve, preventing impairment of the relief capacity when installed. The district regulator station protecting the pipelines if the overpressure design installed to prevent any single incident such as the explosion and the vault damage of the live vehicle from affecting the operation before both overpressure of the protection device district regulator and except for the valve that isolate the system under the protection source of the pressure designed to prevent unauthorized operation of any stop valve that will make the pressure relief valve of the pressure limiting device inoperative. 192.201 required capacity of the pressure relief valve limiting stations. Each pressure relief station, pressure limiting station, the group of the stations installed the particular pipeline must have enough capacity that must set as to the operator with the ensure the following the low pressure of the distribution system when the pressure may not cover the object of operation any of the condition improper of the utilization equipment the pipe the other low pressure of the distribution system if the maximum allowable operating pressure is 60 psi gauge or more the pressure may not exceed the maximum allow operation plus 10% of the pressure of the producer the hope strength 75% of the system measuring yield strength which is lower if the maximum allowable operating pressure is 12 psi or more than less but less than 60 psi the gauge of the pressure not exceed the maximum allowable operating pressure plus 6 psi gauge if the maximum allowable operating pressure is less than 12 psi the gauge of the pressure may not exceed the maximum allowable operating pressure plus 50% when the more than one pressure regulator compression station feeds into the pipeline relief valve. The other protective devices must be installed at each of the station. Each ensure that the complete failure of the largest capacity of the regulator compressor or any of the single run of the lesser capacity regulators or compressor in the station will not impose the pressure on any part of the pipeline distribution system except for the which that is designed against which to protect whichever is lower. Relief valves or other pressure limiting devices must be installed at or near each other regulator station in the lower pressure distribution system, which if the capacity limit of the maximum pressure of the main pressure that will not exceed the safe operating pressure for any of the connected properly adjusted gas utilization equipment. 192.203 Instrument control sample pipeline components. Applicable section apply with the design instrument with the control sampling pipe of the component with the design apply with the permanent closed system that is fluid filled the temperature of the response of the device. Materials and design and material employed with the pipe with the component that must be designed to meet the particular condition service of the following each of the taken connection at the attaching boss fitting the adapter must be made with a suitable material to be able to withstand the maximum surface pressure for the temperature of the pipe equipment which is attached to be designed satisfactory with withstanding all stress without the failure with the fatigue except for the takeoff line with the isolate with the source of the pore pressure of the other valve the shutting off the valve must be installed at each of the takeoff line is near takeoff line is near a practical point of the takeoff blowdown valve must be installed with the necessary brass and copper material may not be with the metal temperature greater than 400 degrees Fahrenheit pipe the component that must be in contact in liquids but not must be protected with the heating other means for the damage to the freezing plans and pipe and components the liquid may accumulate must have drains in the dips pipe of the component subject to clothing and solid deposit of suitable connections with clean arrangement of the pipe of the component of the support must be provided safety and anticipated operator stress each joint may between the section of the pipe between the pipe of the valve of the figs must be made in a manner suitable or anticipated for the temperature conditions like type of the expansion joints may not be used. The expansion must be allowed for the providing flexibility with the system itself. Each control line must be protected with the anticipated cover of the damage that must be designed with the install to prevent damage to any of the control line from making both regulator and overpressure protective devices inoperative. Subpart E, welding steel and pipes.